Welcome into No Boundaries here on Sky Sport. We are talking the T20 Cricket World Cup and India's result over Australia. They are through to the semi-finals. Great to have you with us this morning. I'm Jeff McTague. Colin Munro with me in studio. Mike Hesson beaming in from Dunedin. Great to see you as always, gents. Tell you what, Munners, if the flat white didn't get you going this morning, that result by India was superb. It had all the control they had in that game, dominant against Australia. Yeah,
it was a great game of cricket, I thought. Australia got the wicket of Kohli early. I thought, well, that's the big fish. But, man, sometimes you look at Rohit Sharma over the last 12 months and how he's, I'm not going to say progressed because he's always been world-class, but just taken his game to a new level and being really destructive. And sometimes when you lose your opening partner early on, you can go into your shell a little bit, but he went the other way and just absolutely blew the Aussie bowling attack right out of the water there. It was amazing to watch. And as you can see through the scorecard, literally just little cameos through there and, just helped the skipper get through to a big total and obviously weren't really in danger at the halfway mark.
Yes, we've seen Rohit do this for a long time with India, but he talked about it after the match as well. Just the control he's playing with, the options he's taking with the bat, playing behind the wicket, square of the wicket, all over the ground, and with the breeze too. He was sensational.
Yeah, it was not only a smart innings, it was a classy innings. He's talked throughout the World Cup about wanting to play an aggressive brand of cricket. So I guess he has to follow that up with his own methods, and no doubt he did that. And he did that so well. You're right, there was a big cross breeze, so the fact he'd lost Kohli early, but he took down that over of Stark for 29, hit him both sides, walked across the crease, picked him up over the leg side, and then Stark went a little bit wider. He was a little bit floaty, Stark. You wouldn't say he was at his best, but some of that was probably the pressure that Rohit Sharma was able to apply to him as well. And the shot over extra cover, or there was two and the one over, they were classy. And it just showed that when you get a good surface and you get a classy player, it's a great watch.
What impressed me as well about it, Mun, is his innings in particular was not just the way he read conditions, but the other team coming around him as well. No Virat Kohli, of course, he missed out, but the rest of them, the contributions through the middle order in particular, and Pandya at the end, was impressive.
Yeah, we know how good Surya Kumar Yadav is. He's shown in the RPL, his stock has gone through the roof, and he plays all the way around the ground. He's probably India's, Mr. 360 AB de Villiers, because you can do it against anybody, and just absolutely dynamic player. They brought up mid-on at one stage. He's got back in the box, hit it over mid-on, so he just literally what de Villiers does. He just hits the ball where the gap is, and Hardik Pandya came in at the end there and did what he did. So yeah, outstanding batting display, and everyone just
Munners, just on that from a batting point of view, obviously because he laps and they have to have fine leg back all the time, how much of an advantage is that from a batting point of view? Because as soon as he walks out, they have to put fine leg back. They don't do that for any other batter.
Yeah, huge. I think I've always been trying to work on the lap, but I just don't have the courage to get down and do that. So yeah, credit to those guys that do it. And yeah, just opens up such another part of the, it's so much easier to stand there and hit it down the ground, especially on a wicket like it is there in St. Lucia. So when you do have those options, Josh Buttler does it. When he came to New Zealand very first time, he was scooping over the offside, leg side. So when guys can play all around the wicket, it's really difficult, to try and close down, especially when there's a breeze. And sometimes the bowlers can be, I think Rohit Sharma mentioned it at his post-match presentation, that they try to bowl into the breeze. So he knew exactly what they were doing, and it looked like he knew exactly what they were doing because he was just one step ahead. But yeah, Surya Kumar Yadav is dynamic. I think he's up there with one of the best batters to watch. He's just so effortless, so easy. That shot that he hit over the offside too, people said that he couldn't hit over the offside. He was just amazing.
Yes, how difficult are they going to be to beat in the semi-finals if you're England and further in the tournament if they make the final as well? Because we talked about it, Kohli misses out on the runs, but Rohit Sharma at the top, the way he batted. You've talked about Yadav Pandya as well. Pant gets a start. One guy misses out, another has a big day. That's just so incredibly difficult to beat. Can you see them getting knocked over?
Oh, look, in knockout cricket you can, but they are not only the form side, they're the best balanced side. They've got, as Hardik Pandya as their third seamer, the fact that Kuldeep Yadav is coming in there and he creates those wickets through the middle. You've got a couple of left-arm spinners who are both very different. They bat to 8. And the fact that Virat Kohli hasn't hit his straps yet, he's just as likely to go out in a playoff game and peel off a match-winning performance. that's the beauty of having both him and Rohit at the top, is that if one fails, the other one, can get the job done. And then all those cameos. I mean, Rishabh Pant, everyone thought he might be a finisher, but he's come in at 3. He's played a couple of innings of real substance and allows them to have that left-hander, so they can't just bowl left-arm spin at them. So it's a massive advantage to be able to have those left-handers throughout the order, which initially when their squad was selected, they probably didn't have. Everyone thought Surya would bat at 3, and then, maybe Dubé at 4, and then they'd be a little bit stuck. So I think they've done really well with their balance to their side. They had the option of Sanju Samson, but they went with Rishabh. And I think they're an incredibly well-balanced side. And you add to that Jasprit Bumrah. I mean, Bumrah is the best bowler in the world at the moment by miles, and it's just a matter of how they use his 4 overs. But, yeah, India's certainly the team to beat, no doubt about that.
Let's look at Australia, Manas, and their performance in that match as well. Travis Head, he's travelling along. You think, OK, they're a chance. Mitchell Marsh, 37, Glenn Maxwell there too. But Stoinis misses out, Warner misses out at the top. So you think maybe just a slightly different scenario for them. They get a few more runs at the top of that innings. It's a different game.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you look at the way that they structured their innings, and David Warner didn't get away, but Mitch Marsh came in and showed some intent, even though he hasn't had the World Cup that he would have liked. And I think, massive play in the game was that Akshar Patel catch on the boundary. Was, I think, the turning point, really. And then, obviously, Maxwell came in and did what he does, reverse swept, put the pressure right back on the bowlers, and Jadeja didn't really have an option to him. So when Kuldeep Yadav came on, I thought he bowled really smartly. I think he's their best spinner at the moment, because even the way that Rohit used him from a different side as well, came on the other end and got the wicket and bowled that lovely googly to Maxwell. And once Maxwell was out, I thought Tim David maybe had a chance. But when Bumrah comes on he's devastating with the new ball, but I think with the older ball, that slower ball into the wicket really takes him to another level. And I think, Travis Head played an outstanding knock, but just undone by the slow ball. And, once he was out, the game was done.
He talked about the Marsh catch. Hess, what did you make of the Australian innings? And perhaps, where do you think maybe at this particular tournament they've maybe come unstuck, or maybe they could have changed things up a bit or tried something different?
Oh, I don't think they've been great in the field, to be fair, which is really unusual for an Australian side. I mean, they dropped another easy catch last night of Hardik Pandya, which could have saved them, maybe 10 to 15, which could have made a big difference. But they've been poor, really poor in the field. Their ground fielding's been poor. They've actually got stuck into each other a little bit in the field, which you don't normally see. And Mitchell Starc, he's certainly not at his best with the new ball. We sort of saw that throughout the IPL, and he came back towards the back end and was outstanding. But, his second over was a poor over, and that sort of gave India that real momentum shift. He came back pretty well, but I tend to think, with Ashton Agar there against the likes of Rohit and Virat at the top, I still think he's probably a better option on those types of surfaces because they've already got, 3 other seamers. I mean, Hazlewood was exceptional, and the fact that Hazlewood's playing ahead of Starc shows the confidence that they've got in him. So, I think they've probably gone back to what's worked for them in the past, which is Starc, and I'm just not sure that's what suits the conditions best. From a batting point of view, Davey Warner, he just hasn't been the Davey Warner that we know. I mean, Travis Head's had his moments. He was very good last night, but the fact that Davey Warner hasn't really contributed a huge amount in games that really matter is something that he always does. So, pretty disappointing way for him to finish today against India.
Just touching on that, Hess, with Ashton Agar, do you think he's been watching Akil Hussain bowl a bit? Because I've seen him in the Big Bash, and he hasn't had that big arm ball to go like that. I know the conditions there with the humidity, it swings a bit more, but he's bowling a lot more arm balls than he did, and he hasn't really bowled in the power play for the Perth Scorchers as much, and he's done it a couple of times when he's come in. Do you think that some of the left-arm spinners around the world are actually watching Akil Hussain and saying, this is the skill set that I probably need?
Oh, absolutely. And with the new ball to right-handers, all you got to do, and Akil does it so well, is just get one to hold up. That's all he does. And he bowls, as you know, he bowls from slightly closer to the stumps when he spins it. But yeah, Ashton Agar bowled that arm ball early, and then all of a sudden, from a batting point of view, you're worried about it. Whereas if he ran in and tried to bowl orthodox left arm spin, you'd pick your ball and you'd take him down through the offside, whereas you just can't do that when you know the ball's coming in like that. So you're spot on. Akeli saying is probably, Imad Wasim did it a few years ago, but slightly different again. But he sort of bowled those little nude ones that swung in, and now Akel's really, really shaping it. So yeah, you always learn something new, don't you? In one of these T20 games, there was sort of those slower ball bounces in the West Indies last time, and now you're right, probably those spinners that swing it a bit up front.
Yep. Manas, yes, I guess we're talking about a lot about balance in teams, especially at this end of a tournament, and teams really understanding, I guess, their identity and the way that they want to play. And maybe that's where Australia have come unstuck a little bit. We're seeing India playing beautifully, led well too. Let's look at South Africa quickly as well. Aiden Markram was talking about that the lineup they've got, the batting lineup is sensational, Manas, but perhaps at times just not knowing when to put the foot down or not playing it quite right.
Yeah, but let's look where they've played their games. They haven't been on really flat wickets like they have in St. Lucia. So they've done enough just to win games of cricket, and I think there's still a lot there for that batting lineup to do. I think when you look through that batting lineup, besides Reza Hendricks, they are all very, very dominant players that like to get on the front foot and actually dominate and actually put the bowlers under pressure from ball one. So I think it's not going to be easy when they're coming and playing in Trinidad now. We've seen the wicket up and down there, and it's just going to have to, a couple of those players have played in the CPL, so they've got a lot of experience there too. So, yeah, they do need to step up. When you look through the batting lineup for the World Cups and seeing who's on top, they don't have anyone up near the top. So it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to make a change at the top of the order, because they haven't really dominated there yet.
Hess, what have you made of their journey? Made reasonably tough work of it against West Indies, but like Manas says, they've got the personnel, they've got the firepower there. How have you marked South Africa at this World Cup?
Yeah, look, well, I picked South Africa and India for the final a month or so ago, so that it doesn't really surprise me. I think they are a power-packed side. Aiden Markram's use of his bowlers, I think, has been superb. Manas is spot on. The facilities they've played on, they've been low-scoring affairs pretty much all the way through, but it's really unusual for someone like Kagiso Rabada not to bowl his first over till the 18th over. And that's purely Markram assessing conditions and going, no, I'm actually going to roll out my off spin for 4 here. We've got a wrist spinner in Shamsi. We've got one of the best left arm spinners going around, and I'm going to use him throughout the order. So he's been really, really good from a leadership point of view, and quite unusual from a South African point of view, who normally really struggle to use spin. So I think the fact that he's adapted to conditions, I think Markram's been, along with Rohit Sharma, the best captain there by a long way. And to be fair, South Africa haven't hit their straps yet, I think, from a batting point of view. And a lot of that's condition-based. But if Trinidad, every now and again, Manas Trinidad produces a decent wicket.
It does.
You never know. They might have worked it out, having, had a few up and down ones. But if it's up and down, then all their seamers come into play. A guy like Nokia bashes it in halfway down. Rabada, Marco Jansen, who's, 6'7". So they've got a very good lineup. And, I wouldn't be surprised if we see an India-South Africa final.
Man, that's the thing though, right? Like, de Kock comes off on the day, Rabada comes off on the day, Miller has a big day, Klaasen has a big day. I mean, they can, as he says, they can knock off India. They can knock off any other team in this competition. That's
the beauty about T20 cricket, is that it brings teams closer together. Just one person can come out and have a day out, and literally the game's done. Especially the way boys hit the ball now. Rohit came out. Yes, the game wasn't done, but today that was his day. So if players come out like the likes of Miller, Tristan Stubbs, those types of boys, Klaasen, they've got some super power through there. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But Guyana and Trinidad, the conditions have been more bowler-friendly. So, yeah, you have to get through that tough period as a batter and try and make hay at the back end. Let's take a look at the semi-final that we know is locked in. England-India. Hess, how do you like the balance there? How do you like the makeup of that match? How do you see it panning out for England in particular, coming up against an India side that, as you have said, is in hot form and perhaps the favourite?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be a great semi-final. I think England's a destructive batting lineup. I wouldn't say they're a consistent batting lineup, but they are, their ability to go really well is impressive. They've got, with Bairstow coming in at 3, I mean, that top 3 is as explosive as any lineup going around. So if they get a roll, they could score anything. And that's where Bumrah is just so important. Arshdeep swinging it back in, sure, but I think Bumrah is the guy who could take the top off that England attack or that England batting lineup. And if he can, then I don't think England have got the middle order. I know Brooks played nicely the other day, but I don't think they're quite as good through that middle as other sides are, but their top order is incredibly destructive. Adil Rashid is bowling as well as I've ever seen him bowl, and in conditions that suit, he will be the major threat. But as we said, India are just professional. They've got so many different match winners sort of throughout the order. They can attack you with different methods with the ball. As I said, the left arm swing. You've got Hardik with his cutters into the wicket. And you've got Bumrah, who's exceptional. And then you've got those 3 spinners who bring something different as well. So, look, I think it's going to be an absolute cracker. As I said, if Bumrah doesn't take the top off that order, then I think it's going to be close. If he does, then I think India will win relatively easily.
Yes, you've spoken about the top 3 from England being so dynamic and brutally destructive at the top there. So going to Guyana, where the wicket is a little bit up and down, a little bit skiddy nature, do you think that those guys there who are pretty much in top form will try and change their game plan a little bit to try and actually get a little bit longer? Or do you think the likes of Butler and Salty will just go, nah, this is the way I play, this is what I'm going to stick to?
I think they'll stick to plan A, to be honest, and I think it'll work one of 2 ways. They'll either get ahead of the game, as you said, because the new ball, it's interesting. I mean, sometimes on those wickets, the new ball's the easiest time to bat, but sometimes it's not, as you know, because it actually holds in the surface and does a little bit more. So be interesting to see whether India use someone like Akshar Patel early in the power play, if it is going to hold in Guyana, because, as you know, spin plays a massive role there, Manas, and he bowls into the wicket. And that could make it a little bit harder for someone like Salty, who loves to get on that front foot, and Butler as well, who likes to hit downtown. So it'll be a risk-reward, sort of method. And I think the England batters won't take a backward step, and I'd be interesting to just see how India look to combat that.
How important is it with a team like India, Manas Hess, or maybe not? I mean, we've talked about the balance and that they can do it at both ends of the order. But removing someone like Rohit early in an innings or a Virat, does that knock the stuffing out of them? Like another team that might with a key player, or not so with India because of their balance and their firepower.
I think if we rewind a couple of years, maybe it would, but I don't think it does now with Rishabh Pant, Surya Kumar Yadav through the middle. Those guys there, they don't really care what's happened. They just play their natural game no matter what. So whether they're there in the 3rd or 4th over, or they're there in the 14th or 15th over, they're going to play one way and one way only. So, yeah, I don't think it would. But, in a big game semi-final, who knows? Nerves do funny things, and walking out there 2 down and your 2 most experienced players back in the shed, you might play slightly differently.
Tactics for England, they've had a lot of experience at the business end of World Cups of late. How do you think they would go into a game against India, maybe looking to target a few players?
Look, I think, they'll use Topley up front. I think the left armour against both Kohli and Rohit Sharma has been effective. So if he's able to find his length, then he'll be a tough proposition for both those Indian openers. The one thing that happened in his last game is he was a bit full. And I don't think in Guyana, you definitely want to bring the pitch into play. So you definitely want to bowl that slightly back of a length, and it can be a bit up and down. So I think they'll use that as an opportunity to target. And then through the middle, they'll use Adil Rashid as that attacking weapon. And potentially, if it spins, Livingston as well. I mean, Livingston's actually bowled quite nicely when conditions suit. And then because we talked about all those left-handers that the India's now got, then someone like Moeen Ali could well come into the game as well. So I'm mainly talking about spin in Guyana, and that's based on history and the fact that even though Indians traditionally play spin well, it's a bit different wrist spin, and it's a bit different when conditions don't, when they actually hold in the surface, and I think that's what we'll get to see in Guyana.
The other semi-final, guys, let's touch on that. South Africa in, who they play remains to be seen, but let's generally talk about Afghanistan and the tournament they've had. Not only has it been entertaining to watch, but Hess, I mean, they've just played some unbelievable cricket, well-structured cricket, and they look like a team that's been at that stage for a long time, not a short time.
Yeah, and I mean, Manas will know how good the spinners of Afghanistan are, and they've been so good for so long. I mean, everyone knows Rashid Khan. You watch the IPL, you know Noor Ahmed, you know Mohammad Nabi, but now they have a really well-balanced attack. You know, they've got Faruqi, who's been exceptional with the new ball, could swing it. You've got Naveen, who's got those great changes of pace. You know, Gulbuddin Naib was the 8th bowler used the other day. You know, got 4 for 21 and turned the game on their head. So probably the only thing I worry about with Afghanistan is one more quality batter in that top order. And, you know, whether they play Zazai or not, I think that could be a good option for them, because I just don't think they need 8 bowling options, especially when they're so effective. So that's probably the only point of weakness that I see in Afghanistan. Other than that, their openers have been so good. And Manas, you played a lot with the keeper opening bat, who's been he's the highest run scorer other than Head. He's been amazing, and you know, tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, Gurbaz, he's just a guy. He's just full of energy. No matter what he's doing it at 100%. And you can see the way he plays. And I think what's got better is the more that he's played. You know, you look at his ODI record; it's phenomenal. But the more he's played, he's actually understood conditions. He used to come out and just swing from ball one. You know, and that was his role. But I think now he's matured a little bit. Yes, he's still very young, but him and Ibrahim Zadran at the top, if they get out early, I think he knows that they don't have the batting strength through the middle there. They've got a lot of all-rounders that can come and play cameos, but if they have to bat long periods of time, it becomes a totally different proposition for them. So those 2 guys at the top are key, and I think they hit proper cricket shots. And like you said as well, when he against New Zealand, he has grown up with Zadran. They're from the same village. They know each other inside and out. They played so much cricket together. So if one guy's going well, the other guy takes a backward step. So the partnership is really important. And you can see that they've been the best opening partnership in the World Cup. And, you know, hopefully for them, it can continue, because if one of them or both of them get out within the power play, then it's going to be tough for Afghanistan.
Yeah, we'll see here. So obviously Australia are going to be cheering for Bangladesh, but let's just say, for example, Afghanistan get through against South Africa. How do you see that one matching up? Where do you see maybe a way in for Afghanistan against the Proteas?
Oh, look, I think they're wrist spin. And I know the middle order, you know, the likes of Klaassen is a very good player of spin, but once again, it's different on surfaces where it turns and holds. And we also saw Klaassen, sure, we saw him hit a lot of bombs during the IPL and early on in this World Cup. We've also seen him get out a lot to wrist spin. And I think the ability to, if the likes of Faruqi can take early wickets, Nabi a little bit to De Kock at the top, who's pretty susceptible to off spin, then I think the variety of Noor Ahmed and Rashid Khan through the middle could run through anybody. And I think that, you know, South Africa bat to 6, their top 6 is exceptional. Marco Janssen's okay, but outside of that, you could actually run through them with some good wrist spin. So I still see Afghanistan very much being in this tournament. You know, they've got to get through Bangladesh, and you know, they played 11 games, and I think it's 6-5, so obviously that's going to be a tough ask. But it is, if they do, then I very much see them being able to challenge South Africa with that wrist spin.
Manas, would you want to be chasing if you're Afghanistan against a team like South Africa?
I think in Taruba you want to be batting first, putting up a score, and then just see, because yeah, you try and get the best out of the conditions, and then you know you'll know what to do with the ball coming in that second innings.
All right, Manas, Hess, as always, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your time here on No Boundaries, and thank you for watching. Still plenty more coming your way here at the T20 Cricket World Cup on Sky Sport. Have a great day.